All right, here's your last video for week 2. So this is going to prep you for some fraction stuff that you're going to be doing. Now, I am going through this entire thing on the assumption that you now have this calculator. If you do not have this calculator and you do not plan to buy it, then you are probably going to need to take a different approach to some of these things, okay? But if you're using this calculator, you have 2 buttons that are going to be super, super, super helpful, and those are right here. Those are your fraction buttons. So you have a regular fraction, which is numerator over denominator, and you have a mixed number fraction, which has your whole number, and then next to it, your numerator over your denominator. If you are not going to be using this calculator and you're going to need some help with fractions, you let me know. But the videos that you're going to go through in your learning throughout the week are also going to give you some good tips for working with fractions kind of in your head and without necessarily going through all the calculator stuff, okay? But I want to show you how to use it on here. All right, so the first thing is just practicing to type in some fractions. So the first one we're looking at is 3/4. So that's just a regular fraction. So you would be pressing numerator over denominator. Okay, we got a little glare on there, sorry. There we go. All right, so 3 would go in the top. Now you need to get to the bottom, so you're just gonna lose your little arrow down, so 3/4. And right now I'm just typing them in. That's all we're doing, okay? So that shows you that's how you're gonna type in 3/4. The next one is 2 5/8. That's a mixed number because you have a whole number and a fraction next to it. So mixed numbers, you're gonna use this button. So we're using here. It's gonna kind of give you the little boxes and then you just place the numbers in there. So 2. Now I need to get into the fraction, so I'm going to arrow to the right. So I'm in the numerator, that's 5, and then on the bottom denominator, that's 8, and that's 2 5/8. Okay? So that's just going to show you how to type those in. Now, we're going to look at operations with fractions. One thing I do want to go over, though, that's not necessarily buttons on the calculator, but this week you are going to look at, what about something like this, though? Writing it as not a mixed number, but what we call an improper fraction. And if you remember improper fractions, it means that the numerator is actually larger than the denominator. This is going to be a good thing to do if you do not have one of these calculators. Because if you don't have one of these, mixed numbers, they're not very easy to type in. Not all calculators are going to have this. Even for those of you that have, like the TI, the higher numbers, like the 86s, the 84s, and things like that, they don't even really do this very well, okay? So what you can do and what you'll learn this week is how to change from a mixed number to an improper. Very helpful. So I'm going to go over the process once, and I'm not even going to do it after that, at least on this video. So you're going to take the bottom and multiply it by the whole number. So 8 times 2 is 16. You're going to add the top one. So 16 plus 5 is 21, and you just keep the denominator. So that would be 21 divided by 8, or 21 over 8. So that would be an improper. So again, 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 5 is 21. Keep the bottom, 21 over 8. So you may see some of your multiple choice questions that list answers as mixed numbers and some that may list them as impropers. So you do need to know how to get that improper, okay? All right, so let's go back and let's try some operations. So I'm just going to go right through the calculator and type them each in. You guys can write down the answers as we're going, but we're just going to practice typing it. All right, so the first one we've got is 4/5 plus 1/3. So regular fraction, 4/5, so 4 over 5. Now I want to hit a plus, which means I've got to get out of that fraction. So I'm going to arrow to the right, and now I can hit plus. I've got another fraction, so hit the fraction button again. 1, down, 3. And now that's the end of the problem, so enter. And it's going to show you your answer, which is going to be 1 2/15. Now this is showing you as a mixed number. If you needed it as an improper, then you could change it to an improper. So as an improper, you'd be taking 15 times 1, which is 15, plus 2 is 17, so it'd be 17 over 15. Okay, number 4, 3 1/2, so that's a mixed number. So into my mixed number here, 3, arrow, so it's 1 and then 2 on the bottom. So that's 3 1/2, arrow out, minus 2 1/4. So another mixed number. So that'd be 2, arrow, 1, and then down 4. Enter. So my answer would be 1 1/4. If I needed the improper, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so it'd be 5 over 4. Number 5. 12 over 5, so I start with just a regular fraction. Notice it is improper, but still it's a regular fraction. So numerator over denominator, 12 over 5, arrow out, times, so now we're multiplying fractions, 4/7. So regular fraction, 4 over 7, enter. Okay, we get a mixed number again, so that would be our mixed number answer, 1 and 13 over 35. If we needed to do this as an improper, 35 times 1 is 35. 35 plus 13 is going to be 48, so it would be 48 over 35. Number 6, 7/8, regular fraction, so 7 over 8, arrow to the right, times mixed number, 3 and 2/3. So 3, arrow in, 2 over 3, enter. So we get 3 and 5 over 24. Again, if I need to change it to an improper, so that would be the bottom times 3, and I'm going to do that on here actually because it's bigger numbers, so 24 times 3, and then plus 5, so that would be 77 over 24. Number 7, division. Mixed number, so that would be 8 and 3/4, arrow out, divided by 1/2. Regular fraction, so numerator over denominator, 1 over 2, arrow out, enter. So I get 107, I'm sorry, that doesn't show up good. What is that? There we go, 17 and 2/4. Okay, now this one shows a little arrow down, okay? When you are getting something like that on the calculator, you might need to kind of go back and look at this by hand. I know there's a glare. I'm hoping that you guys can see what I'm actually doing here as I'm going through. So that might be a little bit better. So 8 and 3/4 divided by 1/2. I'm going to show you something with the fractions because division is a little bit tricky. Okay? You'll learn this throughout the week. I'll come back to the calculator in a second, but let's look at this by hand. Technically, the rule is you can't divide fractions, and that's why the calculator is going to be a little weird. So when you're trying to divide, what we're going to learn this week is that you can change this to a multiplication problem and account for the fact that it was division by doing some changes, okay? So we're going to look at a keep, change, and then a flip, okay? I always think instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken, it's Kentucky Chicken Fried, if that helps. So KCF. So you're going to keep the first fraction, you're going to change to multiplying, and then you're going to flip the second one. But I don't want mixed numbers, okay? So when we say keep, it needs to be a regular fraction. Maybe it's an improper, but it still needs to be numerator over denominator. So let's get this to be an improper first. So 4 times 8 is 32, plus 3 is 35. So this problem is 35 over 4 divided by 1/2. Now I'm going to kind of change this out and make it a proper problem, okay? Because I can't technically divide fractions. So we're going to keep the first one, 35 over 4. I'm going to change it to multiplying, and I'm going to flip this one. So that would be 2 over 1, okay? And then technically, your rule for multiplying fractions, which you'll go through again without the calculator, is you multiply the tops and you multiply the bottoms. So 35 times 2 is 70, and 4 times 1 is 4. So really, I have 70 divided by 4. So I'm going to go back to the calculator. 70 divided by 4 is 17.5. Now, take a look at what we got up there. This showed you 17 and 2/4, okay? That's the same thing. The only thing they didn't do for you here was reduce, okay? And this little arrow is kind of showing you could do more, right? So 17 and 2/4, that's the same as 17 and 1/2, which is also the same as 17.5. So even if you didn't type this whole thing in your calculator, or even if you don't have the calculator with the mixed numbers, this is probably your process that you're going to take. Okay, now, will you need to do this in the workplace? I don't know, maybe, but you do have the calculator to help you. Okay, so I'm going to go through one more with the division. I'm going to go to the calculator first. So I've got 5 and 1/6, clear that out. So mixed number, 5 and 1/6 divided by 1 and 1/2. So mixed number again, 1 and 1/2. Enter. So this shows you I've got 3 and 8 over 18. Okay, now again, I see the little arrow. It's not doing some of the stuff for me, but it's kind of a hint there. You've got to do a little bit more, which tells me this is something I could probably reduce. So I could just do that part. So I have 3 and 8 over 18. Well, those are both even. So half of 8 is 4, and half of 18 is 9. So 3 and 4/9. And we're all set. All right, so again, if you do not have one of these calculators, if you do not plan to get one, use the videos a little bit more that you have throughout the week to help you with the process of working with the fractions, and we can do a little bit more in our next class as well. Hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for watching all the videos. Hopefully it helped.